Hey guys, Dr. Morse, Injury Experts. Thank you for tuning in. We're just wrapping up Sunday night for week 3. Some fantastic games today. A couple of crazy games. I thought Dallas was going to be able to pull it off. I can't believe the Rams pulled it off. There were some, unfortunately, big injuries this week. Several big name tight ends, a couple quarterbacks that got banged up, a bunch of wide receivers that got banged up. We're going to cover all of these and more. But before I do me a favor and check out this advertisement. I think you'll really like it, especially if you're into the betting industry.
Looking to up your game in sports betting? Meet OddsJam, your ultimate ally in the world of data-driven wagering. With over 260 sportsbooks under its belt, OddsJam is the go-to platform for savvy bettors. Here's how it works. OddsJam's arbitrage tool scans the market in real time, spotting differences in betting lines across various sportsbooks. This means you can lock in risk-free bets by betting on both sides of the market. But that's not all. OddsJam also provides a positive EV calculator to optimize your bets and a handy bet tracker to optimize your profits. By using OddsJam, you're not just betting smarter, you're betting responsibly for long-term profitability. And here's the kicker. They offer a 7-day free trial. Ready to give it a shot? Use the code MORSE, M-O-R-S-E, for a 35% discount on your first month. Secure your bets with confidence. Make informed decisions with OddsJam.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to that. And if it's something you're interested in, do check them out. So, several big name injuries today. I'm going to start with the quarterbacks like I always do. Justin Herbert entered the game relatively high risk with that high ankle sprain on top of the plantar fasciitis. And unfortunately, he re-injured this relatively about halfway through the game. He actually looked pretty good early on, made a couple of big throws, was doing pretty good, and then unfortunately re-injured that foot. There's a couple different possibilities here. He could have re-injured that high ankle sprain, which would make sense because that's what he came in with, hopefully making it only a slightly re-injury, not a significant re-injury. But there's a possibility he may have injured his Liz Frank ligament, which is right here. Less likely, but it's still technically plausible given the way he planted and how he was kind of favoring his foot. He did leave the game in a boot, but I'm expecting them to get an MRI and further details tomorrow. Another big injury in light of Tua Tagovailoa traveling across the country, reportedly cleared by team docs to travel and actually feeling pretty good. That's a little bit of a moot point because he's on IR for a month, but his backup, Skylar Thompson, left with a chest injury. Now, they did not look good at all this entire game. Tyreek Hill was pretty much irrelevant. Jalen Waddle was irrelevant. Devon Achane was irrelevant. This was a hot mess from the get-go. This is a very tough place to play in Seattle, but it just shows you how much of a significant downgrade it was from Tua to Skylar. Now, it wasn't super clear and obvious what Skylar injured, but they called it a chest later on. And they sounded like they were overly concerned about it. He was ruled out pretty much immediately. Tim Boyle came in and did a little bit more, but not a whole lot. What could this be for Skylar? This could be a rib fracture and possible punctured lung. I know he walked off the field, but all of these will still apply to this. Now, he could have technically injured any of the organs, besides the lung. You have the liver, spleen, kidneys. Like, there's a bunch of things that can unfortunately get cut if you do fracture a rib, and that does happen. Sometimes they call that a abdomen or a chest injury. He also could have had the same injury as Hollywood Brown, which is this SC sprain, or can have a fracture, can have a dislocation. You can also have a collarbone fracture that sometimes they do call a chest injury. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm not to be surprised if they ended up bringing him to the hospital to get screened like they did for Taysom Hill last week, who ended up missing today. Finally, Sam Darnold, we will see. He got really lucky, was having an incredible game. I was definitely wrong about him. He ended up looking really good. He tweaked his left knee a little bit. Team docs came on, evaluated him. You could see them kind of manipulating the knee. And he cleared up. He did great. He returned a couple plays later, and it was like nothing ever happened. As long as he didn't tweak a meniscus, as long as he doesn't have a lot of swelling tomorrow, I think we're good and we're not overly concerned. It's something to obviously worry about, but I'm not really overly worried. I think he got really lucky, and it was good to see because it's a really good story. One of the last plays of the game tonight, Patrick Mahomes did land kind of awkwardly on his knee, almost kind of tweaked his own knee by accident. Not overly worried about it, but worth commenting on. As far as running backs, there were not any running backs injured today that I make note of. Not a single running back, which is pretty incredible. I'm sure someone got injured, but maybe didn't make the headlines. We saw Rhamondre Stevenson suffer a finger injury. It looked like a finger injury when he was trying to stiff arm the tackler. Then his fingers got caught, or it looked like the pinky got caught, and they were working on him on the sidelines. He left for a while and then eventually came back in the second half, but didn't do a whole lot. And then the same injured hand that he had earlier in the game, he was carrying the ball and then he ended up fumbling with that hand. So maybe that was relevant, maybe not. But definitely something to kind of keep an eye out for. Now we are going to head into the wide receivers. All right, there were a ton of wide receivers banged up today. Kind of crazy. DeVonta Smith took a huge shot. I did a separate video on this. He was pretty much already down. They kind of had him, I say pinned down, but kind of the way they had him wrestled down. And then another guy came in and just walloped him. He was having a really good game. Obviously, A.J. Brown was out with his hamstring. So Dallas Goedert just went nuclear because there's pretty much no one else there. They did lose Britton Covey, I think his name is. He's a kind of punt returner, third, fourth, fifth string wide receiver. He left the game in a left arm sling, which could mean a AC sprain. It could mean a collarbone fracture. It could mean a dislocated shoulder. So we'll have to see how that plays up. The rookie, I think he's a safety or a cornerback, Cooper DeJean, was doing the punts after that. Adam Thielen unfortunately strained his hamstring after catching a touchdown and missed the rest of the game. It was amazing to see the Red Rifle come in and just start dictating the offense. When Deontay Johnson came back from the dead, it was beautiful. I was super high on Deontay Johnson heading into the season because I thought this is what Canales is going to do. He's going to hit him early and often. It's just unfortunate that Bryce Young couldn't find him. It was amazing it was crazy how different Deontay Johnson was with Andy Dalton and with Bryce Young. Like polar opposite. It was unbelievable. And Dalton's, 35, 36 or something? It didn't matter. He led them, and he completely turned off Zamir White. Zamir White became irrelevant in this game, and if Bryce Young was in the game, I think he would have had a really much better game. So now we have an offense that we, obviously, that we can follow through. I'm assuming that they're going to keep him in because he looked incredible. Amari Cooper landed really hard on his right hip. This is usually a hip pointer. He said, "Hey, I'm okay," after the game. Usually these are not the most concerning. They're super painful and they can have a big bruise. I tweeted a photo of what one would look like. He's usually fine. He bounced back super strong today. I think he had 2 touchdowns and a handful of catches, even though Deshaun Watson continued to look awful and ended up losing. As far as Justin Jefferson, he ended up probably dislocating, could have fractured, but my guess is dislocating his pinky on his right hand. He ended up coming back. I don't even think he missed any plays. And he played the rest of the game, had a fantastic game again. Again, I was down on him secondary to Darnold, so the fact that Darnold looks incredible, I just, it is what it is. But Justin Jefferson is a beast. Tank Dell tweaked. It looked like either his wrist or his hand. I'm not exactly sure what it was. Something to monitor. If they're overly concerned about it, they'll probably get an MRI or an X-ray. We'll have to see Tuesday, Wednesday how this plays out. But I haven't seen any significant comments on it yet. Darius Slayton suffered a thumb injury. Not super big name, but something to at least monitor. And then there were several tight ends that unfortunately got injured today. 2 of the top tight ends both got injured. Trey McBride, who didn't have the best day, concussion. We'll have to see if he's able to clear the protocol between now and next Friday. It is a 5-day protocol. I did a separate video on him if you want to see it on our YouTube channel. And Sam LaPorta, who was just blocking, unfortunately, he ended up catching a right ankle injury. His ankle was kind of like this, and it rolled out hard this way, left when it was on a cart, ended to the back, probably got x-rays, they were negative, allowed him to come back in the game, but he didn't do anything in the second half. So this either tells me this is a pretty advanced or a lateral, ankle sprain, possible high ankle sprain. A fracture is obviously unlikely because usually they would have saw that on x-ray. It's technically possible, but it's much less likely. So we'll have to monitor this. Best case scenario, he's fine for week 4, but he's kind of struggled so far. So let's hope this isn't anything significant. Tucker Kraft had a shoulder injury. He came into the game with a shoulder injury, so we don't know if it's a re-injury or a new injury, but definitely something to keep an eye on. There's a good chance that they will get Jordan Love back next week, although Malik Willis has looked really, really good in the time that he's been on the field. Kmet ended up leaving the game shortly with an abdominal injury, but he ended up doing fine and coming back. Joey Bosa suffered a hip injury and he was done for the game. So that's definitely a big deal. They do, I believe, play the Chiefs next week. So definitely, potentially a big deal if he can't go, as that would be a significant change. Obviously, with Justin Herbert, same difference. But that's what I have for you so far. I hope you appreciate that there are not as many crazy injuries and potentially no significant injuries here. Most of these guys are going to probably play next week, but we'll probably get a couple more during the week. But thank you for tuning in. If you like this type of content, do me a favor, smash a thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you, OddsJam, for sponsoring this video, and we'll see you during the week for some new updated videos. Take care.